Welcome to today's live stream. My name is Daniel and I'm with VantagePoint AI. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you're in the room and everything is working okay. Got a camera check, mic check. If my audio and video is working, just let me know in the chat that everything is working for you and you can see me okay. I'm writing a little chat just to say welcome and give you guys all a chance to get involved in today's conversation. Again, my name is Daniel with VantagePoint AI, and today we're going to dig into the Magnificent Seven. As you can tell from the title, that's something that a lot of people are really interested in, have been asking me a lot about lately. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time going into those details in today's session. Just want to make sure everything's working. Hey, Peter, there we go. Peter, Joe, nice to see you, gents, again. Mike, okay, all good, all good. Everything is working for you as designed. I like that. I've got 4:01 p.m. Eastern time, so we're about to dive in. I'm just giving everybody a chance that put this on their calendar to get out of their meeting they're in, get out of their conversation they're in, and hop into the live. So we'll give them a chance to get going. Hey, Galawan, thank you very much for being here. I got my eye on the chat, so if anything comes up that you have questions about, by all means, please let me know in the chat. I'll keep my eye on it. Plus, I have an awesome team behind me supporting me and making sure if I miss anything that they notify me and let me know that I need to go back and pick something up. So, hey, Frank. All right, good, good. About to get started here. Just a moment. Let's see here. One quick reminder for everybody. This is a live session, and I'm here for educational purposes. I am not here providing trading advice. I'm not a licensed advisor. I've been utilizing this technology that we're going to walk through today now for nearly 15 years, and I've got about 25 years experience in the markets. But again, I'm in this session to provide you as much education as possible from using predictive technical indicators, just sharing my general technical analysis with you in this session. So I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. I am going to change my screen really quickly just so that you can see the chart. And what I want to focus on today is doing analysis with the tools that I like to use. You can use whatever tools it is you want by any means. By all means, it's your personal preference. But the tools that I like to use are VantagePoint Artificial Intelligence. These are AI-generated predictive technical indicators. And I like to walk through them systematically to walk away with what we call an artificial intelligence sentiment around stocks, ETFs, futures and commodities, Forex, whatever you want to call it. So on the chart behind me, you should see right now a chart of the SPY. And I want to walk through the SPY step by step just to show you what it is I'm looking at and what I'm seeing from an overall expectation of the SPY. So if you're in this session and you're a stock trader or you're an options trader, an ETF trader, and understanding what the SPY, the S&P 500 is expected to do could be valuable for you, I want to show you a couple of easy ways to do analysis with whatever your tools you're using to increase the confidence. And if you're using VantagePoint's predictive technical indicators, then the confidence level goes up even a higher notch because the accuracy is up to 87.4%. But let's set that aside for a second just to understand what we're looking at. We're looking at end of day data, and you can see right now on the screen that we've got several months of data on this chart. We're looking from August 30th to December 4th right now on the chart. And I've got several indicators on here that help me understand what I'm seeing in the market. Before we move into the Mag 7, and we're going to walk through every single one of those 7 charts, I want to make sure everybody understands that no matter what, my opinion is a top-down approach, meaning doing analysis on the overall market before I make any decision around individual assets, individual stocks, individual options, provides me a clearer vision, a stronger sentiment, especially an artificial sentiment around where things are expected to go. All right, so hopefully that's something that you can do. And Pat, you should be able to turn on captions right there on your side with that little gearbox. Hopefully that works for you. All right, so if we're looking at the SPY, first of all, I want to understand whether or not the market is trending in multiple day trends, multiple week trends, or longer. So I'm just going to take the 10,000 foot view and see that I've got trends that are happening right now for a couple of days to a few weeks at a time, right? And overall, if I take any of the indicators off the chart, let me do that right now. If I take this indicator off the chart, I'm going to shrink this one down. We can safely say from the 10,000 foot view that the SPY is overall long-term bullish. This is from beginning of September, so August 30th to December 4th. This is an important piece of the analysis to say whether or not the overall market is expected bullishness or bearishness, or is having bullishness or bearishness in the current trends. That's step number one. Step number two is how long do these trends run for? Well, I can see this is a multiple week trend, right? This is another multiple week trend. This is about a week or so. This is about a week or so. And this is about a week and a half. So what I'm seeing over this time period is I'm seeing where the trends are a little bit shorter now than where they were back in September. Again, this is 10,000 foot view, so I can get an overall expectation on what the artificial intelligence is telling me of the markets. Now, these candlesticks aren't AI indicators. These are traditional candlesticks, end of day data. But by doing this as a first cut is something that's valuable, and I usually don't take off the indicators to do it because I can just get an assessment by looking at it just like this with the indicators on the chart. But you use whatever tools you're using to get an overall decision from a top-down approach on what you're seeing in the markets. I'm seeing bullishness overall. Now I want to go to the shorter term trend. Now I want to dig in on what's happening right now, right? I want to dig into the right-hand side of the chart and really get a good sense of what I'm seeing from a current short-term trend standpoint. So I zoom in, and I'm doing that for your case, and I'm just looking at this blue line. This blue line is above the gray line. They're both pointed up, and the shaded area between those lines is green. Now, for the tools that I use in VantagePoint, and by the way, before I go a little bit further, do me a favor really quickly, just so that I know who I have in the room and I can provide training at a level you understand. Let me know if you're not a VantagePoint family member. If you're not a user of VantagePoint, if you don't have the software, just go to the chat and just say, I don't have it yet or not yet or something like that. And then this way I know, at what level I should provide the training on. It's always good before I get in too far into the weeds that I get a good assessment of who we have in the room. All right, that would be helpful. All right, so back to the chart. Back to the chart again. I'm just zooming in on the right-hand side of the chart so that we can do some short-term analysis on this. I got my pen. I had my pen. I lost it. Where did it go? There we go. All right. So again, the blue line is above saying the short-term trend is expected to be higher. Why is a short-term trend expected to be higher? Why am I getting that from my reading? Well, this is a predicted moving average. In this formula is 2 days of predictive information about the trend. I have a predicted moving average in the software that'll give me 1 day prediction of trend, 2 day and 3 day prediction of trend. I'm just using the 2 day right out of the box, right? All right, thank you, Justin. Glad you're part of the VantagePoint family. I see Alwyn is at SJR, doesn't have it yet. Wilhelmina doesn't have it yet. Okay, well, thank you for being here. It's always good to learn what's available out there, and hopefully I can give you some helpful analysis today. So when we look at this, we can see that blue line is above saying the trend is expected to move higher over the next 2 days, because remember, it has 2 days of predictive information. When did I get this information? Well, because I use the VantagePoint software, I got this information about today's market at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time last night. At the end of the day, every day, I can download my data for this information, and I can make my assessment around what's expected to happen the next trade day. So last night, I knew that I was expecting the SPY to move higher today from a trend standpoint. That's one cut of analysis. The next cut of analysis is there strength in that price? And that's where I can look right here at this line or shaded area, whatever you want to call it, called the predicted neural index. So I've got a predicted moving average, I got a predicted neural index, and I want to compare the two. If I'm getting bullishness from that trend prediction, I want to see a green neural index, which is indicating bullishness in strength, bullishness in price. It's telling me that the price over the next couple of days, or the next day at least, is expected to have a higher average price than a couple of days before. Well, think about that. If the trend is bullish, and there's strength in that bullish trend or in that price, well, then I know I can expect bullishness. I can go a step further and I can look at these predictive differences down here. These are predicted momentum indicators. And why I use these is because the artificial intelligence has done its analysis and then predicted what to expect from a momentum standpoint. And you can see that these are creating higher lows. These are creating higher lows moving off of that bottom. We have a bottom here. We can connect the lows. For anybody that wants to connect the lows with a straight line, sure, take your line, connect them to, and tell me what direction that line is going from current day going back to the next low. They're all pointed up. So I've got overall bullishness from a momentum standpoint. Now, some of you VantagePoint users might look at this and say, well, what about this? The end of the line is pointed down. If you've got the VantagePoint software and your question is, but the end of that line is pointed down, why are you seeing bullish momentum? Here's the answer, okay? One day does not make a trend. This is one day of action. I am not going to make any decisions on one day of an oscillator, right? Just by itself, in isolation, not going to do it. I can see that this trend from this support point right here has been going up. So I can go to this support point, the most recent support point, very visible for me, may not be visible for everybody. And I can say, well, it's been going straight up since that support point. Okay, well then what? Oop, that's not a straight line. Let's try that again. Here, I'm gonna get my straight line tool. Here's that support point I was talking about. And from that point forward, what do I see? Again, connect the lines, guys. Don't overcomplicate it. There is that point. I can connect the line from that point to the data that came out at 6:30 last night, and it's going to show me exactly what my eyes are seeing is that these are creating higher lows. Even if I go to this 3-day predicted momentum, that line is going up just slightly. That's an important piece of information because that means there is still bullish momentum in this trend. Hey, David, glad you're here. You don't have the software, but hopefully this analysis is still valuable for you because how I walk through my artificial intelligence indicators, I think can be done on other indicators. It's just, those are lagging indicators versus predictive indicators. That's the biggest difference. And in my world, that is a world of difference. Now, since we have a few people that don't have the software or don't use these indicators, let me explain how, these are patented indicators, but let me explain how these indicators are predictive and how we're coming up with that prediction really quickly. It'll be just a 10-second thing. And it's called intermarket analysis. When I open up this chart, it shows me which markets are being analyzed before I get a prediction of the SPY. You see, the AI has gone out and analyzed over 10,000 markets around the world. Yes, international and domestic markets to figure out what is influencing, driving, and pushing the price for the SPY. Naturally, I would expect to see the Dow. You can see that. But then you get into some stocks like Omnicom Group, Laboratory Corp of America, of course, the dollar. We know the dollar's impact, gold's impact, the yen, the euro. Oh, BlackRock. Some people may not think that BlackRock is pushing the SPY, but the AI has figured it out. See, the AI has figured out that after doing its analysis of all of those markets around the world, that there's several driving factors that need to be determined. There's over 30 markets on this list. Some of them will push the SPY up. Some of them will push it sideways. Some of them will push it down. And all of them will be weighted by degree of impact based on what the artificial intelligence is doing. All right? Just wanted to lay that out for everybody so we're all on the same page that that is what's going on behind the scenes. That is a patented process called intermarket analysis. Okay? That was for those of you that don't have or haven't seen the software. If you've got questions on that or you want to dig into deeper to that, I'm not going to do that today in this session, but you can certainly do that with one of our experts. Just go to VantagePoint, VantagePointForecast.com. We'll drop it into the chat, VantagePointForecast.com, and get your questions answered there, okay? All right, so back to the analysis. We've got bullishness in trend. We've got bullishness in strength. We've got bullishness in the 1, 2, and 3-day momentum. Now, we even have a predicted high and a predicted low. What VantagePoint is saying is we can expect a higher high today. This, again, came out at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time last night, and it said there's a potential for a lower low. Well, with bullishness all over the place, that lower low is highly unlikely, but that higher high is a measure that I can use to say, okay, I've got almost 100% of my indicators saying bullishness for the SPY today. All right. If that's the case, well, then I can expect the SPY to move higher today. So, well, now that the market is where the market it is, I can, let's see, I'll just pull up Yahoo Finance. And I'll pull it onto the screen over here so we can see what the SPY did before the market closed. There you go, 607.66. That's up 3.75, over 0.5% up before the market closed. Well, VantagePoint predicted a high of 605.14. So not only did it get to that high, but it even went a little bit higher. Thank you. If you're in this long trend and you're holding the SPY bullishly, that is more profits than you were expecting. And I love that. I love that. Okay. Hey, great. I see a lot of people have commented. So Ted, you've got the software just started. Welcome. RA, yes, I have it. Great software. I would not trade without checking my VP10 first. It's great to hear, RA, and the training that our team puts into it. You know, we put a lot of thought in that training, so I'm glad it's working well for you. Hey, Gwen, hopefully the training I'm providing you today, because you don't have the software, is at a level you can understand it. If not, just let me know that. I try not to talk way over anybody's head and not slow enough that we get bored, right? We don't want to be bored. I don't know who could be bored by the markets, but you get my point. So we had bullishness expected. We got bullishness. I can do, and I will do, every day that I need to make a trading decision, I'll do this same analysis. Now, before we do the Magnificent Seven analysis, I want to know what the SPY is doing. I'm going to want to know what the NASDAQ is expected to do. I want to know what the diamonds or the Dow is expected to do. So I'm going to do that same analysis. Here's the cues. This is the NASDAQ. Yes, we can do it as a futures market. Yes, we can do it as an ETF. We have them in the software. But what we're looking at right here is that there is bullishness expected as of 11:25. As of 11:25. Gatto, thank you for your comment and your opinion on the expense. I guess if you got to understand one thing, you're talking about a premier product. That's not an expensive thing to buy. That is an investment that you can see from some of the other comments here has helped a lot of people be very, very successful. And I'm sure we can help you, but that's okay. It's not for everybody. And I'm not here to sell you the software. So at the end of the day, the key is, what can it do for you? We are also the only company that has 2 patents on this technology and has been using artificial intelligence since 1991. Our founder was on CNN in the 90s talking about neural networks. You're not going to find another company with that credibility. So it's okay. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But at the end of the day, if you feel like AI can help you, you should probably explore the one that's been using it the longest, the one that's got the proven history and track record of success. So when you look at this, look at the cues. Look at the cues right here. The cues, bullish, 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 bullish. I think we can see that there was bullishness expected in the cues, and we are expecting a higher low and a higher high. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 predictive indicators. 7 predictive indicators all saying bullish. Now the accuracy of these has been proven to be up to 87.4%. So if you've got indicators that give you that kind of edge, I'm going to lean in on those and say I was expecting the cues to go up today. You can go look at the cues, or we can go look together and see that the cues had a great day after a big gap up and a trend higher. VantagePoint at 6:30 last night said we could expect the cues to move higher today. And we see the same thing with the Dow, but the crazy thing about the Dow is that it's one of the weakest of the 3 indices. Still bullishness here with a little bit of weakness here. Still some bullishness in the momentum, but not as much. This is like when you take your foot off the gas, pulling up to a stop sign, you don't hit the brake yet. Your momentum is still going forward, but your velocity has changed. That's what I see when I see this big move. Doesn't say we're expecting a bearish trend reversal, but it does say there's some capped bullishness expected, even some consolidation. We wouldn't expect anything too much higher, certainly not higher than this resistance level up here. For those of you that don't use support and resistance, you can see that there is a 52-week high sitting right here. The high of this day was 451.28. I wouldn't expect to see anything higher than that on the Dow, since we're seeing a little bit of that faltering. And when you do that analysis yourself, you can take a step back and say, okay, bullish on the SPY, bullish on the Qs, bullishish, somewhat bullish on the Dow. When I move into the Magnificent Seven, now I have a top-down approach, top-down analysis and an artificial intelligence sentiment telling me overall bullishness in the market. I've done my overall analysis to say the longer trend is bullish, which we all know. We did it on the SPY a second ago. And I can apply this approach to everything else I do from a trade decision standpoint. As an options trader and trainer, from an options standpoint, I can tell you that this analysis now helps me understand I'm either thinking about buying calls or selling puts going into this market. If I'm thinking about the Magnificent Seven, I'm holding some positions, selling puts is a great opportunity here so that I can maximize on the overall bullishness that's expected. So now, 6:30 at night, I can make a trade decision around Google. First one of the Mag 7 we'll take a look at. And when I look at this, I can see very, very quickly that we got a fresh crossover. Check this out. I love this. Here is Alphabet. Here is the blue line was below and the shaded area was red. And then we got a fresh crossover last night saying new trend reversal expected over the next 2 days. You guys can see that fresh crossover. You know what? For those of you that don't have the software, let me zoom in a little bit further and you can see that the blue line went right above that gray line and the shaded area went from red to a little bit of green right in there. So this is telling me trend expected to be higher for Alphabet today going into the trade day of 12/4. This came out at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time last night, Eastern time, okay? All right, so when we look at this, we can see the neural index was also green, saying bullishness from a strength standpoint. We can also see that momentum from the bottom of the support level to today, or 5 days back, however you want to look at it, we've got bullishness, bullishness, bullishness. We've got 3 momentum indicators agreeing with the bullishness in Alphabet, which means if I'm holding that position, I don't know why I would have held it through that, but if I was, that's good news. My hope that it's coming back pays off. What we train at VantagePoint is when you see this cross to the downside, if you don't short the market or buy puts or sell covered calls, then this is a kind of go to cash type idea. I'm not providing trading advice, but I can tell you if the AI is forecasting this to go down, well, then why am I going to hold a position until it forecasts for it to go back up? My thought is not interested. At 6:30 last night, we got a fresh bullish forecast. Now the predicted high and predicted low, slightly lower than the previous day. So this is telling me if I'm thinking about Google, if I'm thinking about an opportunity on Google, I need to make sure I get an open somewhere below that midpoint, right? And yes, as a day trader, we do teach some day trading strategies. And I can click on this predicted high and predicted low for the day. I can look at that midpoint at 171.48. And what I want to see is an open somewhere below 171.48. If I'm not in position, I'm looking for an entry below 171.48. If I get an open below that point, and here, I'll mark it with a line. If you got the VantagePoint software, you can put this line anywhere you want, 171.48, just by going right-clicking on the line and changing it. And now it's going to put it right at that midpoint in case you want to see that midpoint. And all I'm waiting for the market to do at 9:30 is open somewhere below that level, right? If I go look at, let's go look at Alphabet, and again, and I like to go to Yahoo Finance just because everybody has access to it. I don't need any proprietary system to go look at the open. 171.40. So I got an open 8 cents below where I needed it for a potential entry, and we're expecting bullishness, and we got 1.77% or $3 move north in Google today. The analysis that I just walked through is exactly the process that you can use on any stock that's in the VantagePoint software, or any stock at all, where you're getting a cross-section of data from the artificial intelligence, in this case, looking at trend, looking at strength, looking at momentum. You can layer in support and resistance. I'm going to do that right now and show it to you really quickly. I have a tool in the software that will put on support or resistance on the chart so I don't have to overthink it. There we go. We broke above that resistance level with a close here. We got a second close here. I know I've got a potential breakout to the north, and I don't have any resistance again until here. With bullish momentum, I've got everything I need. I got no concerns about a long opportunity on Google doing the analysis that we just did as a group, which means I can find these kinds of trades through IntelliScan. By the way, there's a scanner that the AI will identify these kinds of opportunities for you. If you're just not looking at the Magnificent Seven, it'll find some. I think I saw Matt. Matt said, got long high max on Monday. Thanks, VP. Well, we'll look at that when we're done here, Matt, and we can take a look and see exactly what that stock did based on what you saw in the software. So nice move, my friend. Amazon, stock number 2. Look, I can see that Amazon from 3 months ago to today is in an overall bullish trend. It's a wash, rinse, repeat process for me. I see the blue line is above, I see the neural index is green, and I see off of this support level, I've got momentum pushing higher, right? If I want to just go 5 days back, I've got momentum slightly pushing higher. I've got enough bullishness, including in the predicted high and low, to say I'm expecting Amazon to move higher today. At 6:30 last night, again, same exact process. I can go find that midpoint. The midpoint of that chart is 212.47 of that open. Let me zoom in. I'm sorry. Let me zoom in. There you go. 212.47. If you're wondering where I'm looking, when I put my crosshair on this predicted candle that I got at 6:30 last night for today, it tells me right over here what the P high, which stands for predicted high, is, what the midpoint is, and what the predicted low is, and how big that range is, right? I think everybody can see that really quickly. $3.40 is the expected predicted trading range with a midpoint at 212.47. 212.47 is, let me move this line. Now, for those of you that use this from a swing trading standpoint, remember, your entry point was after you saw all this happen. So this is the entry on Amazon. This is the confirmation we're expecting Amazon to move higher today because the new trend was predicted to start back here. That means from the new trend starting to that midpoint, just the midpoint, and I'm just doing the midpoint as a guide, that's already 3.2%. But VantagePoint is saying we can expect this to go higher. This closed, where's Amazon? Amazon closed at 218. All right, so Amazon closed way up here. I love it. You see how valuable it is? Look at that. It's 4 days, 5%, almost 6%. That's more than a percent a day. You see how valuable it is to use predictive artificial intelligence technology? Not only did you find this trend before it took off like that, but you didn't find it too early, creating some drawdown. You found it at the right time, in advance, before it took off, and then this said over the next few days we can expect an uptrend. Last night at 6:30, that uptrend was confirmed, and that produced a substantial gain here. Look, 5 contracts, this hypothetical gain of almost $6,000 minus your premium if you're an options trader. That's a $3,000 gain right there in just a few days. That might have already hit your target. You might already be out of that and on to another trading opportunity. That's what that's the specialty for VantagePoint. That's exactly what this technology is designed to do, is that process right there, right? Good, good. All right, here's another one. Apple. Now, we can see again, walk through it step by step, where it was 3 months ago, where it is now, overall uptrend. Cool, good. The history, the past price data is valuable. But if we zoom in on this, look, you can see the blue line crossed above right there. The shaded area was green on the same day. Keep running it down. We got our 1 day momentum from the beginning of that support point to now, bullish, bullish, bullish. So momentum indicators all saying bullish. Now, as long as that blue line stays above the black line, I can continue holding that position. Whether I do it with options, for you options traders out there, let me give you a quick little tutorial on how to use this for options. You see this crossover at 6:30 at night, right? 6:30 p.m. You're setting up your options for the next trade day. You verify the neural index agrees. You verify that you've got momentum moving into that day that is bullish. Excuse me, 1 second. I can then, thank you, by the way, I can then set my expiration out, call it 30 to 60 days. That's going to be about your trade plan, not mine, right? If I'm looking to set my expiration out 30 days, I'm only holding that for half that time. Maximum 14 days to affect time decay. Same thing, if I go out 60, I'm only expecting to hold that for 30 or less. That's maximum. And I do that because I allow that option to run until the blue line crosses below, or I hit my target, right? Or I get to expiration. One of those three things is going to happen very quickly using this technology. And of course, there's also, I hit my stop loss. I exit that position. You got to have all three of those calculations done before you ever enter the position. Again, it's not from a place of advice. This is my experience and my belief from an educational standpoint. But if I've got all of those things determined and I'm setting my expiration out 30 days, this crossover right here for you options traders is 11-12. I can buy the November expiration, or I can buy the December expiration. I can buy a weekly expiration. That's going to be dependent on how you like to trade. But let's say I got the December one, right? Again, 30 to 60 days out. As long as that blue line stays above the black line, I can ride that trend in Apple until I hit a stop loss, I get a crossover, or I hit my target. One of those things is going to happen eventually. And if not, I will hit my expiration. And those are the four things that can take me out of a position, and I need to know those in advance. Well, in this case, none of those things has happened. There's no stop loss. We're not at expiration. The blue line is still above, so I don't have a crossover. And from a target standpoint, this thing is rocking and rolling. Depending on what your target is, you could take part of that position off of your target. You could take all that position off of your target. You decide according to what you set up before you entered that position. The artificial intelligence said we would be expecting Apple to move higher today. Go check your platform. Go take a look at what Apple did today. Go see if it moved higher. VantagePoint had a predicted high of 243.72 on Apple. A 243.72 on Apple. That means I want it to be either up there or higher. I would love for VantagePoint to be wrong to the high side. Please, please. Artificial intelligence, underestimate how much money I make today. Please. I'm being a little facetious, but I think you get my point. If it goes higher than that, then that just means I'm happier than I anticipated. And this trend, it moved higher. It's moving higher, and VantagePoint is still predicting bullishness from an Apple standpoint. Let me stop really quick and just look at the chat and see if there's any questions, anything that I might have missed, or let me ask you to give me some input. Do you see how the artificial intelligence indicators using that process can give you a really strong AI sentiment so you can make better trade decisions? If the answer is yes, great, tell me that. If the answer is no, great, tell me that. This is a live session, right? I'm showing you the technology, I'm showing you how I use it. Is it for everybody? No, and I'm okay with that. All right, here's Meta. While your answers roll in, I'm going to move on to Meta and keep things going because I want people to understand on all Magnificent 7 what the AI is saying before this session comes to an end. And then we can look at some other tickers if you want to. We got to cross over to the upside here on Meta. By the way, let me show you something on Meta. I'm going to bring up the intermarkets while you're putting your comments into the chat. But when I bring up the intermarkets, these are very different intermarkets than what we saw in the S&P. Sienna, soybeans, right? Bloom Energy Corporation, Coca-Cola. Of course, gold is in there. I mean, you would expect gold, the euro, the yen to impact everything. How about the iShares US Technology ETF? Of course, that's impacting Meta, right? But Universal Health Services, you would never be able to figure that out without the benefit of the artificial intelligence. And that's why this is so powerful and so accurate, because it's doing this analysis for every stock and every market that we are analyzing. So if I look at Meta, we got a fresh crossover on Meta the other day, right here. The neural index agreed, momentum was pushing higher. We can see our support point down here, and we're expecting things to move up the next day. Next 4 days on Meta, a really, really nice move bullishly to the upside. And last night at 6:30, the blue line was moving away from that gray line. The shaded area was green and clear. The neural index was green. The predictive differences were pushing higher. VantagePoint said that you can see a potential high right here in Meta. Again, look in the left corner. This came out at 6:30 last night for today's trade day. It said a high of 617.11. Meta did 617.78 today. So it was off by a quarter or two. But guess what? It was off to the high side. Like I said, be wrong to the high side, so that means I can make more money. And from the beginning of that forecast to now, this is over 8% potential gains. One contract of Meta is over $4,000 in hypothetical gains minus premium. Call it a $3,000 win, and in 4 trade days. I think that puts you in a really, really happy position, if you ask me. But let me just take a look at the chat really quickly. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. MSTR, great move. Yeah, we'll forecast very, very accurately for crypto. Good. Yeah, Peter, everything worth it in life takes discipline, my friend. You nailed it. Peter said the software is great, but it takes discipline and understand and implement the information that is provided. You are absolutely right. Going to the gym, discipline. Eating healthy, discipline, right? Using technology that can provide you an edge, you still got to have discipline on your trade plan. We're going to give you the information so you can make more confident decisions, but apply a systematic approach, and I like to call that the AI sentiment checklist. Yeah, we'll look at XRP, Big Bud. Don't worry about that, my friend. If we've got some time at the end, I'll pull up MSTR. I'll pull up XRP. We'll look at Matt's high max. You know, we'll look at all these really quickly when we're done with the Magnificent Seven. Now here's a choppy market. Here's a choppy market, right? Look at this. Yes, XRP Ripple. Yes, crypto. That's right. Look at this. This is Microsoft. Oof. First of all, you got to decide, is this the kind of market you want to trade in? We just looked at all these other great trends, but is this the kind of market you want to trade in? Here's what I see, in case you're wondering. For 3 months, I see Microsoft stuck in a channel, okay? That's what I see. It's stuck in a channel between 441 and 405. Is there ways to make money in that channel? Yes, absolutely. And VantagePoint has a little edge. You could go to a short-term crossover, the one-day prediction. When you see a channel like that happening, you can go into the one-day prediction and maximize even quicker moves. Take a look at this. I went to the one-day predicted moving average, which shortens the moving average and adds 1 day of predictive information. Every day that the blue line is above, that's a prediction, short-term, that the trend is expected to move higher. I do the same analysis, crossover, neural index. Are my predictive differences moving higher into that day? Yes. So even though it's channeling and rough, there is an opportunity where in 1 day, using this technology, just like we did, that's over 2.32% gain. The entire time the blue line is above, that's over 3% gain. But what did the AI say about Microsoft today? Do the analysis, all right? Blue line is above, neural index is green, predictive differences are pushing higher off of support. So we got bullish, bullish, bullish. I got an outside bar predicted today for Microsoft. A higher high, but a lower low. Well, guess what? The NASDAQ and the ES were also expected to move higher. That means that lower low is a little unlikely because the overall market, remember the market overview we did, was bullish, bullish, bullish. That's all done independently. That analysis is done by the artificial intelligence and was saying I can expect bullishness. Well, that means I would expect this lower low to be obsolete because the overall market is going to pull Microsoft higher, especially if Microsoft's forecast is also forecasted to be higher. You see how when you layer on the analysis, You take that AI sentiment and you put it together, and then you draw your conclusion. Don't look at one indicator and then make a decision, in my opinion. Layer on non-redundant analysis, right? Use artificial intelligence, layer on that to walk away with what we call the AI sentiment. I've said it a couple of times today, but my AI sentiment on Microsoft for today at 6:30 last night is bullishness. Is it perfect? No. But does it give you an edge? Yes. And if you use that process, you'll find yourself on the right side of things more often. Hey, Angie, glad you're here. Michael, thank you. Appreciate that. How can you use the software for a stop loss? I love that question. Thank you for asking. Remember, the software is predicting a high and a low. First of all, from a stop loss standpoint, if your entry point is here on this day, you got to look at where support is, in my opinion. And if I've got support here and I'm entering here, I've got to make sure the room from my entry, actually the open would have been here, but this is the day that I got the information. I've got a room down to support, right? Let me erase this so I don't confuse you. I have room down to the support. I got my forecast here. I got my entry opportunity here. I've got this kind of room to support very easily. I think everybody can see that, which means I have to calculate how many shares I can get based on this. If I want my stop loss to be down here around 411, how many shares can I get so that my risk ratio, my R, right, how much money I'm willing to lose every time I place a trade, which you should know that off the back of your hand. Every time you place a trade, before you get into that position, you should know how much am I willing to lose before I say uncle and get out, right? Well, that's going to determine how many shares I'm able to get. Well, that's the point that you find an entry here, which means your stop loss is going to be somewhere between here and here, right? And every day you're going to get the predicted high and predicted low. Well, there's going to be a certain point where you can move your stop loss higher. Maybe it's after you get into the profits. Maybe it's after you hit your target. That's going to be dependent on your trade plan. But how I use VantagePoint, I set my stop loss below the predicted low. VantagePoint predicted the low here, which means I need a stop loss that is below that because I can expect the market to trade to here based on what the AI is saying. All right, this is for Angelique. My stop loss is below that, I should be safe. Now, your trade plan is going to determine that. How much are you willing to give back? The other way to set a stop loss is go back 72 hours and say 1, 2, 3, 72 hours, and set your stop loss off of the 72-hour low. As long as it is outside the predicted low for the day, because you can expect it to go here, you could set your stop loss here, which is almost a break-even trade. That's a strategy for some people. The other strategy is to use predicted ATR. VantagePoint has predicted ATR in the software so that you know exactly how much this stock is expected to move on a daily basis. I just added the predicted ATR to the software. And yes, there are added on indicators that you can use in the software once you master the basic ones. But predicted ATR tells me I can expect a $7.86 move from the close right here. So another way to set a stop loss is to use a 1.5 to 2 ATR level and set your stop loss there as long as you're outside the predicted low. So I just gave you 3 ways to use the artificial intelligence predictive information to set stop losses, but all 3 of those are going to depend on what your trade plan was at the point of entry, okay? That's one of the most important things that I believe is that the plan going into the decision to get into the position should include stop loss, take profit, total trend plan so that you can make a decision before your money is ever at risk. And then my belief is don't change it. Go with it, right? Go with it. Hey, Ted, I see your question. Is this recorded that I can go over later? Of course. This is on YouTube Live. So if you go to VantagePoint AI and you go to our videos section and you click on the word that says live or the view from my VantagePoint, you can see all of the sessions we've ever done. They're there on YouTube for you. And by the way, if you haven't already subscribed to VantagePoint AI, do me a favor, really quick. Let's pause for the cause, right? You'll get notified anytime we do one of these sessions if you subscribe. So subscribe to our YouTube channel right there on your screen. All right, so bullishness for Microsoft. Nvidia, overall bullish trend. We had some bearishness expected short term. We got that bearishness, and now the question is, what is expected to happen for Nvidia based on the AI? Well, you can see recently it's been in a channel. And in case anybody wants to disagree with that, you can disagree with it. Just look at the chart. The recent moves have been stuck in a channel. So what's a great way to account for a channel? And that's use the shorter term predictions to understand what's going on. And that's where you can glean some really quick insights around Nvidia because it's been in this channel. Now, some people might say, I'm not trading the channel. Okay, don't. Other people might say, I'm selling condors in this channel, and I've got a 155 and a 125 condor. Great. Take advantage of that channel. But regardless, what VantagePoint is saying is that there is a bullish bias to the AI sentiment on Nvidia, saying we're expecting a higher high, a higher low, bullish short-term trend, bullish strength, and bullish momentum for Nvidia today. Now, we also know that Nvidia is, going to be driven and pushed around by the NASDAQ. What did we say that NASDAQ was expected to do today? Bullishness. You see how that top-down approach that we started the session with 45 minutes ago always comes into play? I want the AI sentiment, and when the AI sentiment is bullish across the board, I can expect bullishness in Nvidia, and I don't have to tell you, I think almost everybody that I talk to is checking out and watching Nvidia, and you know that it was bullish today, gapped up and moved higher. All right, Tesla. Well, VantagePoint had a very bullish forecast on Tesla. It's been bullish for quite some time. You can see the 3-month trend up, right? No question about that. We can see that it's been trending for weeks at a time. There's weeks here, there's weeks here, there's weeks here. No question about that. But let's zoom in on the recent forecast for right now. And we can see that the blue line is above. The shaded area is green for Tesla. The neural index, green. Predictive differences from that little support level right here. There we go. Bullish, consolidated, bullish. And a lower high and a lower low expected. So all in all, my AI sentiment is about 70% bullish. And yes, I scored in my head. If you're a VantagePoint user, you can work with our VantagePoint University team to help you understand how to do the AI sentiment yourself. It's a systematic approach to making a trade decision based on the indicators. But overall, I'm getting about 60 to 70% bullishness on Tesla. Well, what are the NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P expected to do? They had 90 to 100% bullishness. So I know that the chance of Tesla going higher based on this analysis is very, very high. Well, let's look. Yahoo Finance. All right, so here's the move on Tesla today, up $6, 1.85%. Aftermarket, it's pulled back a little bit, but it's still, even including aftermarket, it's still up $4 a share from where it was the day before, which means the key to this is that the AI gave me that information at 6:30 last night, all right? Let me see, I got a question on the table. What indicators come with the software out of the box? David, thanks for the question. You get a forecast that's up to 3 days in advance, which we're looking at on the screen. All the indicators you see on Tesla Motors, you get the 1-day trend forecast, the 2-day trend forecast, the 3-day trend forecast. You get the predicted high and predicted low. You get the predicted strength indicator, and you get all 3 predicted momentum indicators, as well as a host of other ones. These are right out of the box, part of everybody's VantagePoint software. There's even, David, a scanning feature that if you decide you want the scanner, you can have a scanner that'll go find those crossovers for you. And when you put all that together, it's pretty valuable if you ask me. But anyway, if you got questions, of course, go to VantagePointForecast.com and we can talk one-on-one and make sure that we get all your questions answered. How many days? Oh, Big Bud, I answered that. How many days is the prediction? Up to 3 days. I can do a 1-day, 2-day, and 3-day forecast. And I always get the question that you might not be thinking, but might not be saying, but you're thinking is, wait, this line doesn't draw out in the future. How is that a 3-day prediction? And here's my answer. when you look at a windsock and it's pointing east, you can't see the wind, but the windsock is telling you that that wind is blowing east, right? The direction that that windsock is pointing is telling you the direction that that wind is blowing after that windsock. So what this is saying is the fact that the blue line is above and more valued than the gray line tells you that trend is expected to move up after this day, just like that windsock. And the idea behind it is that you can make an assessment on the trend, the strength, and the momentum in advance using that. You do get the one-day predicted high and predicted low for every asset available in the software, okay? Hopefully that's helpful and answers your questions, because those are great questions. Now, Matt said, was it high max? And we said Ripple. So let's go HM. Oops. I have that one wrong, Matt. Let me see. Let me scroll back through here. I'm looking through the chat, trying to find the stock, because I thought I remembered it, but maybe I missed it. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, I missed the I. My fault. My fault. All right. Here's HIMX, and here is a, Matt said long from, what Monday was that, Max? Excuse me, Matt, that would have been, yesterday, 2 days ago. All right. Let's go to Yahoo Finance, and let's take a look at the chart on Yahoo Finance. You can see, before we do that, you can see blue line was above, shaded area was green. This is, by the way, Friday's information. This is Monday. This is Tuesday. Blue line above, shaded area green. Momentum pushing higher on HIMAX. Nice, Matt. Nice, Matt. I like it. I like it, my friend. Let's see. Oh, it's up 11% today. This thing just gapped and ran today. A really, really great move off of this downtrend reversal. That my friend, and Matt knows the software well, very, very well. Some of you may have learned from him, but I can tell you one thing, that is a monster move that the AI was able to produce. Thanks for bringing that to the table, my friend. Right? You're welcome, Melissa. I'm glad that analogy was helpful. All right, the other one was XRP. I'm sure the question is, when did VantagePoint forecast Ripple to go higher? Well, what if I told you VantagePoint forecast Ripple to start moving higher at 50 cents? Big Bud NYC. If you knew Ripple was going to move higher at 50 cents with accuracy up to 87.4%, would you have loaded up more on Ripple? It's a rhetorical question. I think we all know the answer to that. But you can see from VantagePoint's forecast on November 6th on Ripple to the close yesterday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Let me show you something really quick. You can see that's up 360% in 27 trading days. VantagePoint said you can expect Ripple to even go all the way down to 238. Now, somebody asked me a question about stop losses. I think it was Angelina. Let me just look. I hate getting names wrong, so I apologize if I did. Oh, yeah, Angelina. Okay. So the stop loss is down at that 238 level, and if I use back 72 hours, 1, 2, 3, I got a stop loss below 238, but above, let's see, the low of this day was 185. So at any point in here, I could grab a stop loss, right? That's up to you and your trade plan. Let's say it went all the way down. If you didn't hit your target at 238%, by the way, I don't know where your targets are. But let's say it went all the way down. That's a 223% gain in 25 days with a stop out if it gets down there. If you set your stop below the low of that day, 48 hours back, or you use ATR, again, your stop is going to be determined by how you trade this. But no matter what, getting a bullish forecast on Ripple in 11.6 is a lights out trading opportunity, and I think you would probably agree. But I'm not quite sure. You'd have to tell me. All right. We also wanted to do MSTR. Let's go. Love MicroStrategy and what they're doing with convertible bonds. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just money in the bank. Now, this is a trend that has been trending for quite some time. And by the way, the long-term triple crossover, the long-term crossover is a crossover I use in these scenarios. You can use it in Ripple as well. The long-term is a 3-day trend forecast. Anytime I see a trend that has been running for not weeks, but months at a time, I like to use that long-term forecast because I'm willing to allow a little bit more drawdown. The long-term forecast is a 3-day trend predictor. Remember, in a channel, choppy, I like to go to the 1-day. Anything that's been trending for a few days to a couple of weeks, I like to use a 2-day. And people always ask me, which one am I using? And then something running this long, I like to use a 3-day. Once you get really good at doing that, you'll start to use all 3 of them at the same time and bounce them off of each other doing your AI sentiment. That's the next level of applying this technology. And you can see VantagePoint forecasted this back up here on 9/19. To the peak after that forecast, I mean, that's the peak. Obviously, this is best case scenario. That's 272%. By the end of that day, it was still 175%. And from the close yesterday, it was still 160%. So no matter how you slice it, big, huge money-making opportunity. What VantagePoint is saying is that there is support and resistance that is impacting this, and there is a change in momentum that we've got to be cautious of. It is in this channel. See the resistance level, see the support level, okay? This trend was going up. We had some bearishness work in on the 2 and the 3-day, but the 1-day popped, saying 1-day momentum is bullish even though the 2 and the 3-day is bearish. Well, the fact that it is in between support and resistance knows I'm going to bang around in support and resistance, and you can expect that. Stop loss on a big trend like this, by the way, using that support level is a hack. Stop losses using an old support level that's recent, 337.94, keeps you in that position, keeps you riding that trend, but also protects your downside. If you get stopped out there, you're up 136%, and I don't think anybody on this call or any call related to the markets is upset about that kind of gain, right? Nothing is perfect. VantagePoint is not perfect, and I'm telling you that right now. But does it give you an edge? Absolutely, it gives you an edge. And you can see on the screen right now how valuable that edge is. A lot of people have been asking for Palantir. It's like the darling right now. Maybe it's taken over more for people asking me about Palantir than Nvidia. But you can see VantagePoint forecasted it bullishly on 11.5. We do the same analysis. We walk through the process exactly the same as we always have. Blue line stayed above. Last night, the blue line was saying bullish, strength bullish. Predicted high and predicted low, the predicted differences indicating momentum had some bullishness to it, but they're coming off of this high bullish momentum. And when they come off of that high bullish momentum, then I got to go find a support point to say, what are they doing from there? Somewhat bullish, somewhat consolidated. So I've got a little bit of consolidation in my momentum on Palantir. Well, I'm expecting a higher high. I'm expecting a higher low, right? That's what I'm expecting on the day. So I'm expecting a little bit of bullishness, but consolidated bullishness, which means it's not going to get above that high like we talked about. The NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P are all bullish, so I can expect it to still stay above this low. Like, I'm not too worried about that. But this trend is a great trend from the crossover to the close yesterday. Another banging move. 32.84% in 19 trade days. And you can see that I can scale this back to, let's say, 200 shares, no matter how you slice it. Great hypothetical trade right here where VantagePoint is telling you, hey, there's a little bit of volatility going on, right? And we've got some highs going on, so there's some bearish pressure from resistance, but don't worry. The overall trend is still expected to be bullish over the next couple of days, and that was for today. Tomorrow, I don't have any concerns around Palantir, all right? Hopefully that's helpful. We hit the Magnificent Seven. We walked through how to use the artificial intelligence analysis, and hopefully some of you saw where the AI is doing something that's humanly impossible. And if you didn't, or if you did and you've got questions, you can always go to VantagePointForecast.com. It's in the chat. Ask your questions. Be happy to dig into it and talk a little bit more about it. I'm out of time. It's 5 p.m. Eastern time. I try to keep these to an hour. But again, subscribe to the VantagePoint channel, and then this way, when we do another session in the next week or so, because we've got interest rates coming up pretty soon. You're probably going to want to know what's expected to happen. If you compare the AI to what's going to happen based on interest rates, that would be very, very valuable. And I'll do a session on that here in the next week or two, and I hope to see you there. So for those of you that are part of the VantagePoint family, thank you for being part of the VantagePoint family. For everybody else, thank you for letting me give you the view from my VantagePoint. Happy trading and have a great day. See you, everybody.